Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So I have Randy's cylinder here. This is Randy's, this is Aaron's. And this specifically is a 371 cylinder. Aaron's is the Highway 52 millimeter 372 cylinder. Anyways, what I'm doing here is I'm wanting to measure my port volume, my transfer port volume. Whenever you're doing this stuff, you always wonder, you go, is that enough? Do I need to take a little bit more? You know? And of course, it would be good to be able to measure these things. And so what I've done is I've cleaned up the cylinder really nice, and I have put tape on to cover up the upper transfer ports. And we're going to see the volume. So I have already done this, but you know, so I know how much it's going to take. But what I have here, this is a syringe that I got at Tractor Supply for giving my sheep, sorry Irene, giving our sheep penicillin. And it literally just cost a few bucks. It measures in milliliters. And this is just regular water that I have. And that's it. That is it. We got a good round meniscus, I think that's what it's called, where your water humps over. And what we have is exactly 11 milliliters. Remember that number. Exactly 11 milliliters. This right here, the measurable scale goes to 12 milliliters. So now this side right here, I have ported it. So what I'm wanting to figure out is how much volume I took out. You know, how much aluminum I actually took out of these transfers. And in turn, and that'll tell me how much extra volume I have given for fuel and air mixture. And that is all she wrote for that one. We fill her back up. And there we go. That's all she wrote right there. And we have 0.8, I would say. 0.8 milliliters on the second syringe. So we remember the first syringe, we got 11 milliliters. This goes up to 12. So we got a full 12 milliliters plus another 0.8 milliliters. So what we're looking here is the ported side has it has 12.8 milliliters. On this side, we have 11 milliliters. So I've already done the math, and that is a 25.5% increase. Nope, that's BS. I am sitting here editing, and I can remember as I was filming that, I was thinking, damn, that's a lot. Did I really take out 25%? No, I took out 16%. So I increased the volume 16%. I know how I messed up. I was doing my calculations based off 13.8 milliliters, and I should have been basing them off of 12.8 milliliters. But I think that's good. So a lot of what I say from here on out is horse shit. So I'm going to correct it right off the bat. So if you look at the gain of 16%, remember the old saying from way back, there is no replacement for displacement. Well, we're giving displacement here as well. It's just not displacement of the piston. We're going to increase the displacement of our transfers and all of our ports in general. But if you look at 16%, how much of a difference does that make? Well, it's easy for us here in the United States a lot of times to look at the volume of engines, specifically V8, because we grew up, we know that stuff. So 16% is for every 100 cubic inches, you add an extra 16 cubic inches. So if you've got, say, let's keep it with Chrysler, because I like my Mopars. You've got a Dodge 318 engine. 318 engine, let's see here, real quick. 318. So with 300, that is 100 three different times. So we take our 16% and we multiply it times 3, that gives us 48. So it would be no different, not really, than taking a 318 engine and adding 48 extra cc's. That bumps us up to a 366. So that's really, and in the Mopar world, you literally have that with your 318 small block and your 360 small block. That's pretty much right there on par. That's good. So it's quite a bit of extra displacement that we're giving. In this situation, though, it's not displacement, it's volume. And quite a bit extra capabilities that we are giving this engine. So I'm going to try and cut this to where it makes sense, because I did spout a lot of horse shit based on the 25% that I thought that I had come up with, and it's not. Anyways, there you go. So that's pretty cool. Figured I'd share this real quick. Randy and Aaron, your saws are almost done, and basically I'm just milking this one because I'm waiting on a specific part to come in that I've ordered. But yeah, we're looking at, as long as that part comes in this weekend, these two saws will be done. But yeah, it's all going swimmingly. So I'm about ready to do the intake and the exhaust, and of course finish up the transfers on this one right here. I just wanted to show you guys that. I got a kick out of it, and I'm sure you will too. It's pretty damn neat whenever you can actually put numbers to something that you're doing. And I suggest doing this because, you know what? I mean, all of these numbers, they really mean nothing on their own, but they mean a lot whenever you compare them. Like this one right here, it being 12.8 milliliters versus 12.8 milliliters alone tells you nothing. But versus the 11 milliliters, hey, that's a big deal. That's a hell of a difference right there. All right, so you got to be able to compare them. So like in the future, maybe I'll do another one. I'll take out even more material, and then I'll go, whoa, I went up to 35% more volume. And then we find that the saw falls on its face because it's lost all of its velocity, right? So then that's why we take numbers. That's why we do this, and we try and nail down what it is exactly that we are doing, so that whenever we do something different, we can take those numbers and compare them. And that is why, that is like that is the basic strategy of a dyno machine. Whenever you're dynoing something, who gives a damn what the actual number is, unless it is compared on that same dyno to like a known figure of where you started from. All right, so I could build a saw and take it to get it dynoed, and it produces 25 horsepower. And you're like, yeah, baby, I produced 25 horsepower with this chainsaw. And the chainsaw that I had dynoed was a Chinese clone 50cc saw. And then you look at that and you're like, well, I know that it's not producing 25 horsepower. So what does that number mean? Don't mean dick. But if you had dynoed that same saw, and it dynoed at 20 horsepower stock, and then you have the 25 horsepower number. Now you can look at it and see the percentage of gain that you got. The numbers alone don't mean anything. You have to be able, you have to have a bar. You have to have a bar to set things by, to gauge where everything's at. So, yeah, cool. I think Victor, I think is your name, from Ogden Saw Shop in North Carolina. I think I got that right. Chappie, I think I got you right there as well. Two guys on my Husqvarna 55 shared some really good information with me. I mean, all of you guys, thank you. I appreciate every comment that's on there. But you got to look at the Husqvarna 55 video where all I did was raise the transfer ports. That video, what I'm asking is, what the hell is wrong with my saw? I'm not asking port numbers, because your method may be better than mine. Your port numbers may be better than mine. And they likely are, right? Like Aaron, this is Lynch, Aaron Lynch. You gave me some great info on maybe where I should have been, right? Maybe instead of 103 on my exhaust, I should have aimed for 108. And I'm with you. Whenever I go back in there and fix that saw, or try to, I'm going to be taking material out of the squish and everything. But here's the question at hand. It's not where my numbers should have been. It's what is wrong with my saw. Because regardless of whether I should have went here or I should have went there, the point that I'm making with that video is something is effed, right? Something is broken with that saw. And I've got to figure out what it is, because even though your port numbers are probably better than mine, the fact of the matter is the port numbers that I have should be crushing the stock saw. And it's not. That saw is ported, and I did a pretty good job of porting it. The numbers may not have been what you guys chose. I get that. But it still should be just handling that stock saw. It should be embarrassing that stock saw. So the numbers aren't really important in the questions about the Husqvarna 55. What is important is what is wrong, because regardless of whether or not my numbers could improve, they still should be tremendously better than stock. That saw should be ripping it up pretty damn good, and it's not. And so I can't remember exactly, and I don't think anything's broken. I think a few people mentioned that maybe there's slop in the flywheel. I definitely, you don't know the saw, so you can't, but I know the saw, and it's an extremely clean unit that has only been apart by me, and I'm like, no, there's no chance that it's got a very low hours. No chance that there's slop in that flywheel. But I mean, I guess there could be, but what I'm saying is I know the saw. I don't think anything such as that is broken. I don't think the Hi-Jet is clogged. So I have the advantage there because I have the saw in my hands and I know the history of this saw. So, but I got two really good suggestions. One of you guys realized your numbers are fine. Don't grind on the saw anymore. there's something else going on. And I think that was a basic, that was the addressing the concern of, yeah, it's not the numbers. It should be ripping it up pretty good. Could it be better? Absolutely. But that's not what's going on with it. There's something else. Somebody told me that I need to check the timing to see if my coil is advancing. See, that right there makes a lot of sense to me. If the coil is not advancing, then that is something literally electrically that is holding it back. And that could be it. But I think the guy, he's the guy from the Ogden saw shop. You're either Chappie or you're Victor. I think you're Victor. Man, you had a really, 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 really excellent post where you're talking about the mix push, I believe. I can't find anything on that whatsoever. I'm very interested. So if you can post something, give me a link to an article that I can read about it, that'd be great. But a good point was brought up that because the aftermarket company, Highway, took what is normally a open transfer cylinder and they made it a closed port, maybe my volume in my transfers is just not enough. It's just not enough. And that might be the case. Regardless, because I saw no difference, essentially no difference in the saw whenever I raised those transfer ports. I just essentially saw no difference whatsoever. And so what the heck? How can there be no difference? I mean, yeah, there was a touch, but whenever you raise those transfer ports like I did, I mean, I changed them about 7 or 8 degrees. 8 or 9 degrees. That's a big difference. It should have had a big difference in the saw. Either it fall flat on its face or it worked out for me. So I think that the volume in those transfers is just not enough. So, but anyways, I've rambled enough. But if you're interested in this kind of stuff, then you're interested in it. And it's interesting. But that right there, I think, is endlessly interesting, that I was able to port one side and then literally look at it, measure it out in milliliters, and see that I gained 25% increase in transfer port volume. So, back at it with this. I'm going to get on it, finish this cylinder up, and start buttoning these saws up in general. It's going good. I can't wait to see them run. They're going to run good. They're going to run real good. I'm really happy with it. Take a look at my work. All right, look at this. Stock. Modified. That is very good, clean port work, I think. I am very happy with that. About an extra 25% more volume there. We're doing great. Look at that. You can really tell it there. You can see it. How that it's this wall up against the cylinder. That's where you're taking the bulk of the material out. It swells up. And now you want it to curve like that. You don't want it to be flat straight down. You want that stuff to get thrown like that in an arch, right? But there's a lot of extra material there. Look at that. You can see how much bigger it is there versus there. See that? Boom. Boom. So, very nice. I'm happy. All right, see you guys.